Hello everybody and welcome to another amazing video of DIY investing. At the end of 2022, I started investing in Metis and investing in some of the low cap cryptos built inside of the ecosystem. Now that they've announced the grants that are going to be injected into this market, we are seeing many of these starting to break out, and I do believe that this is one of the most profitable narratives that we can be following. When we compare all of the layer 2s, Metis has a significant amount of upside potential to catch up to some of these other ones higher, and I do firmly believe that some of the biggest profits will be made by people buying some of the early projects built inside this market. For today's video, I'm going to be breaking down a few of my favorite investments that I've bought recently or have been holding for over a year now, and ones that I think are going to be providing some of the bigger gains inside of this market when the profit really starts to set in. Thank you guys so much for tuning in, and with that being said, let's jump right into this amazing video today. Alrighty guys, here we are to start off today's video, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the consolidation that we're seeing here inside of the Bitcoin dominance, because this is the true reason why I'm talking about altcoins, why I'm sharing with you guys so many different ecosystems. I've had people get kind of upset with me that I'm not talking about the long-term cycles as much, considering that's what I talked a lot about in my channel even going into the last cycle. So the thing about this, guys, is as I've gotten into these cycles, this is now my third bull run, 8th year inside of this crypto market that I've been trading and investing. Every single day I've been trying to learn in the market, and I've learned a lot. I'm not some expert. From our last cycle going into this one, I watched people be prepared for DeFi summer. I watched people be prepared and early inside of the NFT market and many of the different narratives that played out in the last cycle. You had to have known different narratives before they played out to have really made a significant amount of money in the last cycle, and I do firmly believe that this cycle is going to be a lot like that. But you know, I still think there's going to be a lot of easy opportunities for upside. I think this cycle will be a lot easier than the last one, but I think that it's the people that understand narratives, early ecosystems before they're taking off and are getting positioned into some of these markets that are going to make the most long-term profit. So that's kind of why I've been talking a lot about different projects, a lot of different tokens, some big caps, some small caps, different ecosystems throughout, because that's genuinely how I believe I'm going to make the most money, and it was my biggest takeaway from what I learned in the last cycle. So if that doesn't please you, you'll probably have to unsubscribe, because I'm going to continue to talk about a lot of this stuff, because my goal is to make everybody that watches this channel the most money possible, and that's how I personally feel that I'm going to do it for myself. So why would I not share that back with everybody else that supports me? When we're talking about the Bitcoin dominance, we briefly touched up about how this has always been in a downtrend. If we had price history to go all the way back, this would run all the way to like 2014 and 13, and we would more or less just see the very beginning stages of this downtrend. Before 2017 happened, we saw an absolutely monster bull market for altcoins, and the reason why was because Bitcoin was actually losing dominance against the altcoins. They were gaining market share. Now, at the very peak of that 2017 bull market, Bitcoin dominance bottomed at about 35%. And then we saw in that 2018 bear market and even into the beginning of the 2019 bull market, Bitcoin dominance ended up climbing and ended up peaking all the way up here at 73%. Now, this cycle was insanely profitable for the altcoins. It was the most profitable cycle for the altcoins because Bitcoin dominance was falling to a new all-time low. Now, when we look at our cycle for the last bull run for altcoins, peaked here at 73.5% dominance and then fell all the way down to about 39.5% right here. Notice how the very peak low, or what I should say the very peak high for the altcoins, peak low for the Bitcoin dominance, at 35% right here, that never even made a lower low past that. So our last cycle was just us more or less consolidating back down and retesting the prior support. So this was a lower low, this was a lower high, and this was a higher low, right? So a higher low is just what I call alt consolidation. It's not a lower low, it's not continuation in a bearish sense, which is what we would have expected to happen like if 2017 played out. However, the fact that we held support, retested this support 5, 6, 7 different times approximately, it showed that this was actually a higher low and we needed to come back up to retest this trend line. Now, as you guys can see, we retested this trend line. We're getting this head and shoulder top reversal pattern, and we just got this massive bearish engulfing candle. And if you come over here, we're noticing that in just over 6 hours, this weekly candle is going to close because I'm on a weekly time frame. So we're looking for the first time to begin this new cycle, altcoin confirmation that Bitcoin dominance is topped, and we're going to be starting a new cycle. So with that being said, guys, During this period, we are going to see some of the biggest altcoin profits that we've ever seen. I believe it's going to be a 2017 type of bull run for this same sort of setup. And it will be the first time Bitcoin dominance is in bearish price discovery since 2017. So that's the main reason I've been talking about altcoins. And there's some of my favorites inside of this coming ecosystem. And I wanted to break them down for the rest of this video. So for the rest of this video, I'm going to be breaking down my favorite Metis altcoins, why I think that they're going to have so much upside, and the ones that I think that everybody could get positioned in early and still look to make a lot more profit as we get over the next month or two. Now, right off the bat, guys, when we're talking about Metis, it's breaking out and it's making a new high right now. Now, I always kind of expected we'd come up to the top of this lower high because in our last cycle, if we're counting Elliott waves, all we did was a 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this big overextended wave 5, right? And you could maybe draw that this is a wave 3, wave 4, and wave 5. Either way, it's all just one big first Elliott wave cycle. And then what we saw was an ABC correction on the way back down. Technically, wave C happened all the way down here because we did make a lower low. And this ends up being this Wyckoff accumulation where you go through this range and then you make this final sort of sweep right below that range. You close below it, fake everybody out, trap everybody. Most people begin to panic sell and capitulate during that time. And then that's right before the market rebounds. And that's what happened inside of Metis. Now, I'm not going to lie. I didn't think that it would happen quite this fast. But this is why we always get prepared in the early part of the cycle, because we don't know how quick they're going to break out. With it heading to my main target at about $165 to about $180, when I'm looking at the Elliott wave count in the short term, I kind of expected we'd be topping here, and I still think that we could have a short-term correction. But when I look at the Elliott waves, it looks like we finished a wave 1, and we're currently inside of a wave 3. Most likely, wave 3 finishes up here at the top of this lower high, being 165 to 180. Somewhere right there, we'll probably see a decent sized wave 4 correction that'll take us back down, maybe even, right below the price where we're at. Pretty close to the same level. I wouldn't be surprised in the slightest, considering how big of an impulse we've had on the way back up. But then, based off the Elliott wave count, we would still have one more impulse to come after that. So when I'm looking at this, even though I always expected we would just run up to this level and then top, based off the Elliott wave count, it actually just looks like we're going to end up coming up here, probably getting a correction like this, and then getting one more final move like that. That's kind of what I'm anticipating here, but it's hard to say 100%. My main target is still going to be here. I don't think we can go wrong taking profits at that, especially if you were accumulating down in this area. But for me personally, this is a long-term hold. Always has been, always will be. I'm not looking to take heavy profits. I'm looking to hold this the entire cycle. I could care less about any price action below the prior all-time highs, considering if this thing just instantly started breaking out and going higher and quicker than I expected, I don't like to be the guy that has to go and be upset with myself that I sold too early and then watch one of my favorite assets go up and everybody else makes the profit. For me, it's easier to scale out based off time. That's why I invest based off the 4-year cycles. I'm holding this asset for the whole cycle. I'm not looking to take any profits. However, anybody that is, I don't think you can go wrong selling at resistance levels, playing the market in an obvious way. You're going to bound to be wrong about certain levels because that type of stuff happens. And that's why I say that with these type of projects, they're better to just be long held. Now let's talk about them altcoins. Now the first one on today's list is going to be Tethys. Tethys right now is breaking out of its range high. This is like a 600 plus day accumulation range that we've been in. All of them have kind of been in the similar sort of range. So about 600 days approximately. And we're just barely breaking out and retesting this as new support. So the amount of upside I think that these altcoins have in the short term is absolutely massive. This is going to be the GMX of Tethys, and I don't know if you guys follow along with GMX at all, but they're basically the most profitable DEX because of how much profit they generate through the fees, and that's kind of a big narrative I expect to play out in this cycle, is what projects are actually going to be able to, profit and reward that back to the token holders. So with GMX, by providing liquidity, you're actually going to earn revenue in the form of the fees generated from people trading on the exchange, and with how crazy and volatile the crypto prices are, the amount of fees that are generated in these sort of protocols is pretty insane. And Tethys is a hard fork of GMX. So it's sub $10 million fully diluted, or at least I believe it's fully diluted based off of what Dex Screener says. This is one that I just think has an immense amount of upside potential. You really cannot go wrong holding it, in my opinion. Now, when we're looking at this, it's about to be breaking out. And if we're looking at a short-term target, it's kind of hard to say. I wouldn't be surprised if this thing pulled like a 2 or 3x just inside of this next move. And I'm not even exaggerating when I say that. The way that this cycle looks, it looks so freaking bullish. Like I can't even, I can't like, I don't know how much more I can tell you guys that this is a bullish setup than like what I'm explaining. These are going to be altcoins that genuinely make people a significant amount of long-term profit. Now the next one is going to be hummus. Now if you want kind of a short-term explanation of what hummus is, it's a single-sided automated market maker designed for exchanging stable currencies on Metis. So I do believe that they're going to expand past just stable coins, and this is going to be one where I already know, based off of some of the projects I've talked with, they're actually going to be working and building on hummus. So once again, anytime you have a project where other projects are going to be building with and collaborating with, sourcing liquidity with, anything like that, I think that that's ultimately going to benefit this token. Now when we look at this, we did make this big lower low here, but when we're looking at it from a cycle type basis, all this really was this big A, B, and C correction, and we're just starting the beginning impulses to begin the new cycle. So I do think that this is going to end up taking off in a big way. If we went to a log scale, we've already broken from all descending resistance, which is kind of the main thing that we were going to be watching for a reversal, and that's what tells me that this thing's about to be having an absolutely monster type of cycle, considering it doesn't look like it's super undervalued on the log scale, but if we take it off, we know all we were looking at was the fact that we've broken out. That's the trend has shifted. Now, when we come in here, it basically is just at the beginning of this breakout. We just made our first higher high. We're retesting this prior level of support. It was resistance because we broke below it, but we've kind of regained it as new support again. And I do believe that this is going to be the point where we're about to start reversing. Once again, the market caps of all of these are going to be pretty small. It's only got $4.3 million market cap, but it's obviously fully diluted at 11.8. So just keep that in mind. There will be further unlocks and further inflation. Now, just to the top of this wave B is 86%. If we were to run to the top of the prior range high, it's 4x. And I really just wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these started doing that. I believe that there's going to be an insane amount of profit generated inside of the Metis blockchain. And when we're talking about everything that they're doing and how they're really the only truly decentralized layer 2, having Vitalik's mom there developing the project and having that backing with Vitalik, I just don't think you can really go wrong. Now, this is hummus. If you're looking for a gaming project, if you're into GameFi, look no further than the GameFi token itself. It's at $2.6 million total market cap. Now, if you were wondering what this is, if you know what like Magic or Treasure DAO is, it's basically like an NFT marketplace, a gaming platform. Like you can launch games, you can play games, things like that. That's pretty much what this is, but just on Metis, and it's at a significantly smaller market cap. In fact, this is about 100x away from being at the market cap of Magic on Arbitrum. So I think that that's kind of my comparison, is if this just hits the same market cap as Magic or Treasure DAO, this thing is going to be 100x, and not to mention what it could potentially extend on from that. So that's kind of why I think that this one's still a really good investment long term. If we're looking at platforms where other projects can build and launch upon, the amount of volume that is generated inside of these is just a lot higher, and that's why the upside potential in the tokens is better. If we just go back to the last point of us breaking out, we're looking at like a 1.3x, and all we've really done is just a wave 1 impulse, wave 2 correction, and we're in the beginning stages of a wave 3. Notice how much volume came in here. I honestly think that this one's just about to fly. I'm not going to try and draw price targets because I just think it's going to absolutely dwarf all of them. So that's kind of why all of these I've just bought, knowing they're going to explode in a big way, and mainly wanting to hold them for the whole cycle. These are all three, good, fundamentally strong projects on Metis, ones that I personally want to hold long term. So just be watching out for these three. Now, next up is going to be VMUM, or Vitalik's mum. This one is going to be the meme coin of Metis, basically playing off of the whole thing with Vitalik's mom being the developer over here, or one of the developers on the Metis blockchain. So when we're talking about this, I think that you can't really go wrong buying this meme coin, considering it's got such a perfect collectible aspect, a meme type aspect, being it, you know, centered around Vitalik's mom. I just don't think you can really go wrong. And it's only got $3.4 million total market cap. As it stands, we are actually breaking out. I think we're about to be starting a new all-time high pretty soon. To the range highs, you're like 30%, but I don't really know exactly how high it's going to go. My thing with this is I just like to hold them, get in early, because I don't like to predict exactly where they're about to head, and I can't exactly say where this one is headed in the short term. What it kind of looks like to me is we've finished our first cycle right here, which is a one wave impulse. So this whole entire thing just looks like a wave 1. We just broke out of wave 2, and I think that we're about to be starting a big picture wave 3. So that's kind of why for me, I'm just looking to maximize the profit. I don't think you can go wrong taking short-term profits on this one, but I do believe that this one is one you want to hold at least a small moon bag for the whole cycle, considering this one could end up providing some of the biggest gains and just be one of those things that most people were just like more or less riding off, but ended up being such a huge collectible profitable part of Metis. So watch out for VMUM. Now, next up is going to be one of my favorites that I've bought recently. Now, this is Cronus. Cronus is one of the first reflection tokens on Metis that I found, and basically what that means is by holding it, there's a sell and buy tax for every transaction. So there's a certain amount of that ends up going back to the token holders themselves. So just by holding Cronus, you're actually getting Cronus airdrop back to your address every time someone buys or sells it. So that's kind of why we're seeing this thing breaking out. At the end of the day, it only has $412,000 total market cap, and it's fully diluted. So with 100K liquidity, it's got the good liquidity. The team has actually kept adding liquidity throughout, even in the correction. So that's always an encouraging sign, showing that they're at least participating and actively trying to grow the project. Now with this one, I do think that there's a lot of upside potential, considering, you know, some of the reflection tokens that I've participated in, Hamachi Finance, I earned like $30,000 worth of rewards from just holding that it was like 3 months that I held it, not even 4 months. And I earned $30,000 worth of rewards. With this one, it pays you back in the same token. So if this token's going to just start expanding like crazy, you got to expect that you're also going to make even more just by holding the token and gaining all of the rewards from all of that. So these are the type that can really make a lot of upside. And at 400K market cap, I just think that the whole Metis ecosystem is kind of at this point where anybody that bridges over and starts actually trading over here right now is really, really early to what's probably going to be one of the most profitable narratives to trade this cycle. And so maybe low caps aren't your thing and you don't want to trade some of these, and that's fine, but I can't stress enough how much opportunity is going to be made with a number of these different altcoins. So watch out for Cronus. The last one on today's video is going to be Metis Enu. Now Metis Enu was one that I bought over in here. I bought almost the exact top and then held on to like an 80 or a 90% loss as it dropped. And I've just kept holding it the whole time. We ended up having this big breakout with Metis. And when I look at the shorter time frames, this whole chart just looks like this big accumulation that's about to be breaking out in a big way. So I honestly think that this one's about to go up pretty significantly, and when it does, it's only got $170,000 fully diluted market cap. So like if there's something that's going to just take off in a huge way that you could make a quick 10x on, and maybe even potentially 100x, it's these altcoins that are worth like practically nothing. And keep in mind, guys, that these are the ones with the highest risk. Now if you're looking at this list and you're trying to figure out what is going to be the safest ones, I pretty much went in order of what are going to be the safest ones, so just follow them based off that throughout the video. I just think that the lower the market cap, the higher the risk, just because we can't trust and verify that they've had, you know, a significant track record. You know, we can look at the team, we can talk to them, you know, we can trust them, but at the end of the day, we never truly 100% know. And so that's why I kind of say that focus on the ones with a little bit higher market cap, the ones that are a little bit more established, but at the same time, every altcoin I've covered in today's video was pretty much a low cap. The last two on the list are going to be, the last three on the list are going to be the ones that are a little bit more undervalued, but the ones that also could provide some of the biggest upside potential. If we're talking like you want to be a Deegan, you want to ape into something that could probably make like a 10x fairly quickly. I think that VMUM, Cronus, and Metis Enu are all three pretty much perfect examples of those. Just understand that they definitely have more risk because they are so much more undervalued. So if you found value in this video, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you guys do want to follow and buy all of these tokens, I will link them in the description so you can follow the pairs so you know how to do it. If you don't know how to bridge to Metis, I will link a bridge in the description of this video that I personally use to bridge. It's probably better to use the Metis bridge just in case they may have some future airdrops or different perks like that. I would highly advise everybody go and do that at the very minimum, unless it takes like 5-10 days. I remember sometimes it took 10 days to bridge using Arbitrum in the beginning, so you know, I don't really blame you if you don't do that, because I probably wouldn't either. So just be aware of that. But big picture, I will link it in the description, every one of these different altcoins, so you can find them. Now, if you guys do want to end up seeing how I'm investing, every single one of these have been a prior signal on my Discord. You know, a lot of these, the first three on this list, we bought at the end of 2022, beginning of 2023. So we've kind of been positioned inside of the Metis ecosystem for a while. If you guys ever want to see how I'm positioning myself, what new ecosystems I'm actually positioning myself in now, thinking that could potentially blow up in the next few months to a year, you know, make sure you guys join the Discord server, because that's the way you're going to be able to find all my trades. Now, the way that you actually sign up for my private Discord server is linked in the description below. From there, you're going to be able to go to my website. That's really where you're going to get total access to my Discord. You got to sign up on my website. From my Discord is where I post all my trades, anything I'm doing with my money long term. So if you guys do want to sign up, check out my website, link below in the description of this video. Thank you guys so much for the support. And with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next one. As always, peace out.